Nordo, and you don't have the opportunity to be here, so say hello to Kevin O'Connell as we start X's and O's, because you guys are quite fond of each other.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for doing this, by the way. Again, not even half a day, really, after last night's victory at Soldier Field. I miss being down there, as clunky as it is being back in St. Louis Park. Just excited to get your thoughts and really appreciate the access that you give us on a weekly basis.
Yeah, I miss you in here this morning, Nordo, but we'll make up for it next week. Appreciate you guys doing this, and glad to join you this morning.
Likewise, like Nordo said, for you stopping by after getting back. I think 3:35, 3:40 is when we got back last night. And the word complimentary is where I would like to begin because there was it's cliche for some, but cliches are generally cliches because they've stood the test of time.
Yep.
But from a complimentary football standpoint, how about the complimentary nature of the Vikings Entertainment Network? I mean, we have Curly Harris out there waiting for you with your football.
Yep.
Jesse and Paige set up a chair for Ekstrom right there.
He might not have shown up this morning if we didn't get him a chair.
Well,
so
right.
That's good.
But, I mean, the complementary nature of everybody in collaborative fashion with this organization is shining right now. But what I mean about the football game is as the offense was trudging through some things, the defense, now, okay, hey, I mean, with all due respect, teams get to have full off seasons to plan things, go down on 10-play drives and score. I mean, they get to do that. What happens after? Well, it was pretty good, defensively speaking. So then now the offense starts going. The defense is still holding their offense at bay, and the kicker hits from 59, and the punt returner's going for 22.
Yep.
I mean, it personified complimentary football last night.
Yeah, I think you don't win a game like that unless you have it. And, one of the things that you look at as a team is – we've now been together as a staff for a few years, and so that means a couple things. That means we're going up against a year one staff on the other side, and no matter what the experience level we had previously, there was going to be some things that we had to work through, and on really both sides. And I thought Flo and his staff did a phenomenal job after that first drive, just kind of hitting the reset button and locking in for a considerable amount of time to allow us to stay in the football game. I thought that end of half sequence was huge to try to, because you're really up against it, right? If you start calling your timeouts too early, maybe you turn. It clearly seemed like with some of the play calls on the other side, they were willing to let that clock go down and not give us the opportunity. So we had to find that perfect kind of middle ground there, and it ended up being a fourth and short, but not too short that he would go for it, especially after all the time that had ticked off the clock. But for JJ to hit that throw to Jalen Naylor, and for Will to come on, and what we originally thought would be, about a 50, maybe 57 yarder, replay assist, moves that ball back, and just for the folks at home, I mean, that happens. You send your field goal team on.
Oh, that was replay assist.
Then replay assist moves that ball back, and then you either have to hockey line change the offense back on and risk some chaos at that point, or you just trust in Big Will to knock it through, and he hit it pure. It was awesome.
And it's a career long for him, but it doesn't mean because kicking was bad around the league Sunday that it has to be bad on Monday. But I mean, and I know you had a lot going on Sunday, but I mean, from Cleveland to Atlanta, kickers were missing huge kicks all Sunday. And Santos missed from 50. Your guy hit from 59. So that plays into the game of inches cliche.
Yep.
That is also age old. I just thought last night's game was fascinating. And I don't want to overplay this because I caught it on your sideline through my binoculars, and it involves Josh Metellus. All right? And, I mean, it was sullen. I mean, nobody was talking. It was quiet. And it's not like people were pissed off and yelling at each other, but it wasn't going the right way.
Yep.
And then I got my binoculars on Metellus, and I don't know what he was saying, but he was jumping around, bouncing around to like players and groups, and then all of a sudden people started standing up. And so Metellus, I think, played an underrated role on the sideline of getting everybody fired up when it wasn't going well.
Yeah, it was just about energy. They got that stop, and he came off the field and just wanted to, he was basically saying everything's right there for us. We got to have that energy, and the only play that matters is the next one. And it was all positive. It was all what you expect out of somebody with his type of leadership traits. And quite honestly, PA, our players, and those are the games, and I told the team afterwards, those are the games that, if you ever want to know why we attempt to do things the way we do throughout the off seasons, the way we build our team, the way we talk about the things that, can be cliche at times. Yeah. Yesterday was a perfect example of how, we all around here don't think they're necessarily cliches when it comes to culture, when it comes to what our players have built in that locker room. Because it is one of those things that a game like that, with how it went, especially in the opener, it's easy. It's easy for everybody to say, maybe it's just not our night. We've got to improve. We got a short week coming. All these circumstances that our team just doesn't think about, and we just keep playing. Playing as long as we possibly can.
And having faith over fear, whether it's in your profession or whether it's in real life, sometimes it's easier said than done. But it seemed from afar that there was no panic. I mean, it's 3 and out, score, 3 and out, and just trying to get this thing going.
Yep.
And that's one thing I talked about a lot on the radio and with some people, even at the team hotel, was the totality of the game is what I felt was going to matter most.
Yep.
Because, again, they're going to come out throwing haymakers and roundhouses, and they want to get their fans going. And it was as loud at Soldier Field last night as I've heard it in quite some time. So they had everything going the way they wanted it.
Yep.
But you got to play the whole thing. And, with all due respect, I thought their defense got a little tired at the end of the game last night. That factors into it too. But a key here for you guys, and you preach this, is faith over fear. We're not going to panic. Yep. And you guys didn't panic last night when it wasn't going right, correct?
Yeah, I think, one of the things that you have to understand, especially in my role, where there's a lot going on from a standpoint of managing the game, managing the team. But there's a guy out there playing quarterback that was in his first NFL start on the road. I actually made the mistake on the headsets right before the national anthem of saying, I don't think there's a ton of energy in here right now. We might be all right, guys. And then that national anthem, the flyover.
Yeah. I think his name's Jim Cornelius. I mean, that was unbelievable.
It was unbelievable. And clearly, I was not familiar with him, but clearly everybody else at Soldier Field was, because he brought it, and the energy was from there was electric, and it just didn't slow down at all. But there's just going to be times where, maybe in the past I would have, borderline, started to lose it or tried to use some tactics of motivation that are, maybe less than ideal from a positivity standpoint, and just persevere with that kind of, faith over fear kind of mindset. But with a young quarterback, everything has to stay, to him, it's got to stay equal. It's got to stay in a place where myself, Josh over there sitting with him, who did a phenomenal job, Josh McCown all game, and then our team. I've tried to prepare our team in a way, on an individual basis, talking to a lot of our leadership, talking to the team occasionally about it. Like, when you are doing this as an organization, it is our responsibility to make sure that we maintain what we want to be about. And it's for his betterment, but it's for our team's benefit. And just keep playing, just keep trying to find a way. And we've got a lot of faith in here we're eventually going to do that. Because it's not the first time something like that's happened. But for those circumstances, for JJ and all things considered, I was really proud of our team and especially JJ.
We could chat nuance with JJ McCarthy, and kind of like what we talked about in that pregame about when you work on something with a youngster and they finally get it. There's like a surrogate dad moment where it's kind of like, yes, well done. And there's just so many. I've never dealt with anything like this in all my years. It started with Dante Culpepper for me. Then we're into Gus Frerotte and Kelly Holcomb and Cousins, of all these veterans. This is different, the way people talk about the 22-year-old. Aaron Jones being like, let me take you into the huddle. It's ugly. We're muddled. We can't get anything going. He's looking around saying, this is unbelievable we get to do this and be here right now. Little facets like that. And even the nuance on the keeper. Brisker comes on a blitz and totally bit on the cheese, and you head around the right side and get into the end zone. They sprinted. I mean, the jubilation to get down there and be with him, little things like that. You can just tell that they'll lay on swords for your quarterback. And isn't that important?
Yeah, I mean, and it's all the credit in the world should go to JJ and his teammates. I mean, that relationship that's been built, and many times around the league that those the requirements sometimes are you got to do those things first. We got to see it, and that's probably the better part of the entire football world. We need to see it before we believe it. We need to see it before where we understand
big time
plans and what the big picture is and all that. That to me is just not the way I've ever operated, and hopefully no team I ever coach will, because we've got to believe in that moment. It's all about the things that have transpired up until that point. It's all about the time that JJ put in this building. He's obviously had the offseason program, the training camp, a portion, and things weren't going well. So for our team to still trust in that moment, and then kind of that explosion of energy and emotion when he was, making some of those plays in the second half, that can be infectious for a while, I hope, because now we do have confirmation, even though we've all been believing that it would come and it would happen. We've got the confirmation now. So now what are we going to do with it? Are we going to build on it? Are we going to become the best version of a football team that we can become? Because that's the facts are the facts in the first half. We didn't play very well, and it was a lot of different things that maybe didn't necessarily involve J.J. McCarthy, why certain aspects of our offense stalled, which way too much of that was the case. And then we got a little bit more better, all 11 guys doing their job, and some simple things started to look like what we want to look like as an offense.
And off that, I'm glad you said that, because during your press conference, you said many cool things, but there was one that fascinated me. Is when you were talking about the Bears after they had to scratch their two corners. So Kyler Gordon, he's late to the injury report over the weekend, which no team ever wants. So they scratch Gordon and they scratch Jalen Johnson. And so those two corners are down, and the unscouted way they then decided to play defensively. So what were they doing, and how did McCarthy and you guys push through?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, you're playing against Dennis Allen. We've played him twice. We feel like going into the game, there's enough data of what, with the time in New Orleans he had, some of the limited looks that you had from the preseason. You feel like there's going to be maybe some things you can really sculpt a game plan to try to play against. And there was some things early on, whether it was a third down disguise and kind of playing something new that they hadn't played before out of that look. They were throwing some different unique versions of some of their split safety coverages out of some disguise, where clearly it's a, hey, young quarterback, let's see if we can distort the picture a little bit while also trying to get home with the pass rush. And then they had an exotic blitz package out of some of their heavier DB groupings with 7 very flow-like 6, 7, 8 guys at times up there at the line of scrimmage. They brought a cover 0 multiple times in the game. They were going to do some things to try to, maybe protect some of those players. There wasn't a lot of standard, just this is how Dennis Allen's always coached. But there were some of those things as well. And it's really what you run into every week in this league. But when you're in the opener and you're trying to, manifest and envision how you want to piece together the plan with a young quarterback, where you can't just go just drawing it up in the dirt like you would with a 8, 9, 10-year veteran that's been through it. And that's where at times we've got to lean on our execution, the details. If we're, if it's a 3rd and 3 and the route's supposed to be at 5 yards, it's got to be at 5 yards. If we're supposed to do this in protection, we gotta, we can be physical, but we got to make sure we take care of those downs. And a couple times it got a little loose, just by people trying to be, have that play style and be physical. But all those little loose kind of aspects of things early on kept us from converting. There were some other opportunities in the pass game where we didn't quite finish the pitch and catch, and then ultimately at right about those times where we needed to finish drives, when we did either get that long PI call, we had a couple long PI calls where you're looking at it from a standpoint of, you don't get that yardage as an offense, but that moved the ball 40-plus yards on that Aaron Jones PI. And what ends up happening is you can start to feel the oxygen if you allow it kind of leave the sideline, leave the headsets as a coaching staff. And the last thing that can possibly happen is our quarterback, our young quarterback in his first start on the road, to feel that. So just tried to eliminate that possibility from happening, persevere, and find a way. And I know Vikings fans were, it was not pretty. Nobody's more aware of that than myself as far as what that looked like for way too long of a stretch. But I can tell you there's a lot of things that we all, me included, will go right back to work on, improve. And we're going to be an improving offense as the year goes on. And there's a lot to build off of, especially, from the last, call it 17-plus minutes of football we played last night. Let's hope we build on that, and that's the plan.
Well, speaking of the fans, we do a Talk Back Weekly for Kevin O'Connell via X's and O's, and back at KFAN. We have that Talk Back. Here it is.
Hey, what's up? It's Blake from White Bear Lake here. Hey, Coach, got a quick question for you. I know J.J. McCarthy clutched some of that fourth quarter. You loved everything about that. I'm actually going to lean towards the defense here. We saw some new snaps coming out from Eric Wilson with Cashman being out, along with Dallas Turner being involved in more of the snaps, as well as some other guys. Just want to hear about your thoughts on this new defense scheme and these new guys just really pulling up to where they need to be, as well as our special teams also. Again, Skol. Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, Blake, I thought, you can't really make a game like that happen without some of those performances. And, just specifically talking about Eric Wilson, I mean, for him to step in and be a veteran presence, and we've talked a lot about that green dot, the guy calling the defenses and the guy hearing Brian Flores' voice and making sure there's a lot of moving parts to our defense. And for him to step in and do what he did in place of Cash was critical, was absolutely critical. You mentioned Dallas Turner. Dallas Turner, is really part of a three-man grouping with JG and Gink to allow us to have three really versatile, physical, different kind of players to do different things that allows us to play a lot of different looks out of the same grouping. There was quite a few snaps last night. If Vikings fans saw it, which Blake definitely did, where we actually had Dallas, Gink, and Grenard on the field all together at the same time for good chunks of time.
Did Dallas play something called the 5 tech, or like when I asked him after the game, you played a lot, you're all over the place. They played me a lot at the 5. I think is what he said. What is that?
So he played. It's basically like, if you look at traditional 4-down defenses, our defensive front can morph into a lot of different looks. But he essentially, instead of being a true outside backer, he was a defensive end. A couple times he kicked down with, when
so a 5 technique.
Him and Gink were, if there's a tight end there, him and Gink was outside of him, and Dallas was playing one of the interior roles. I don't think you can discount what Hargrave did for us. Jonathan Allen.
Yeah.
I mean, Caleb, the mobility is real. I mean, we know that. We've seen it multiple times now. And there are probably another 4 or 5 potential chances where he was able to get away, maybe more, where he was able to get away. And I thought for the most part, we tried to limit the damage down the field, but he was able to kind of find some loose yardage. But there was a lot of times we were getting him off the spot, keeping him from throwing in rhythm, finding a rhythm. But, yeah, there's a lot of guys that I thought really had some solid performances throughout the night to really kind of do their jobs as one of 11 to help us stay in that game defensively. And I thought Flo and his staff did a great job as well.
And Kevin, X's and O's with Kevin O'Connell. Vikings beat the Bears. Kevin is 4-0 at Soldier Field. Atlanta for the home opener, Sunday Night Football, KFAN, Vikings Audio Network. The pressures, I mean, you talk about this all the time, is like the sacks. Yeah, it's great, to have 20 sacks or whatever. Those are great for sure. But the pressures matter too. And Hargrave and Allen, I think they might have combined for 12 between those two from those two spots. I mean, that's exactly what you signed up for, I would imagine, when you brought him in. All right, we got to hurry, and there's still a lot. How did Donovan Jackson handle his debut?
Yeah, I thought there was a lot of really positive things that Donovan did. He drew the matchup most of the night with Grady Jarrett, who's a really good player and veteran player, crafty, has some twitch and explosion in there as a really kind of a guy that's done it really at a high level for a long time. And Donovan really did a lot of good things. There were some moments where, Donovan's a rookie and hey, we can't play, and he goes the wrong way on something. And those are all learnable moments just with how much and how fast things can happen out there. But it has not one time PA felt too big for him.
Right.
This guy is, he's a guy that I've always just looked at as in the moment he's going to, his next snap, he's going to correct whatever he needs to correct. He's going to apply the coaching that he's gotten throughout the week. He's going to evolve throughout the game and adjust based upon what we're seeing. And that bodes really well with his physical skill set and play style, to go along with all those other things. That bodes really well for our first-round pick.
And another thing that I just love about what you guys do is things that you'll do in first quarter, second quarters of games to set up third and or fourth quarter plays. But that also can be the case in first games for Dublin games or SoFi games. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
What I'm talking about here is, Mason and Jones in the game at the same time. That has to be something off which you can build myriad ways, especially Aaron Jones in space. And I got a lot of respect for Tremaine Edmonds. He runs like the wind. He's tall, and his arms go from Maui to Maine. But you found a way to get him where it's like, wow, I got to run a long way with this guy, and this guy's fast.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Mason was in the game on that play or not, but when those guys are together, you can build off that, right?
Yeah, and I think it's the versatility of Aaron. It's the fact that Jordan Mason's, such an incredible complement from a play type and style standpoint. Some of those physicality runs, we started getting the ball downhill a little bit, started to wear on them, as you said. We just, across the board, we just didn't have enough plays.
Mm-hmm.
When you're looking at it before that final sequence of three
What'd you have, about 45?
runs, I think we were at 46.
Wow.
And, we still had over 5 yards of play. Which is something we want to push, north of that 6 number. Is kind of where we'd like to live at. But we just didn't have enough plays. We got to find a way to just be a little bit more efficient and find a way to convert some of those third or shorters if we're going to be running the football and staying kind of manageable. It was not going to be a game we just, flat out decided to chuck it 50 times around the yard. Those days will come.
Yeah.
But our team is built differently. It's built to try to find a way to win football games, and they're not always going to be how you draw them up. They're not going to be, ones that I would personally hang up on the wall.
Right.
In the, football art studio. But we're going to find a way to keep growing as a team, and my goal is we just keep on getting better and better, but we are not going to wait till the morning after to do that. We're going to do it in game. We're going to find a way.
2 minutes, and I can't leave the X's and O's conversation without mentioning Miles Price.
Yeah.
Seriously, it's that first kick where I forgot the guy who blasted him, Daniel Hardy, the defensive lineman. He stuck him. Yeah. That was, let's put the preseason to the side and the Patriots joints to the side. That was Miles Price's first kick return in a game that counted since 2020 when it was at Texas Tech.
Yeah.
All right, so he caught it. He did all the fundamentals right. Just hold on to it, my man, as we raise the undrafted Indiana Hoosier. Well, then Hardy kills him, and he holds on to it. And Taylor, at the end, outkicks his coverage, and Miles, takes advantage of that. He's fearless, isn't he? He's just fearless.
He's got an unbelievable mindset, an infectious personality. And you just, I remember telling Kwesi early on in training camp that there was just something about him. When you start getting to know him, you have conversations with him, and he is prepared in his own mind for every moment that could come. It was a fun moment after that play. He was kind of standing by himself, and I kind of walked up to him. I said, "Well, it's good to get that one out of the way because there's absolutely nothing to fear now about doing your job." And he looked at me right in the eye. He said, "Coach, I don't fear nothing." And so it was a really good moment, and I've got a lot of confidence in Miles, and I think you could feel it in the locker room with the team afterwards. He is beloved by his teammates as well. All he does is work.
Yeah.
All he does is has a $1 million smile on his face every day. Never had a bad day, and absolutely loves playing football. So you're going to win when you get as many of those kind of guys as you can possibly find, and we got a lot of them in this building.
Ty Felton, I mean, he's drafted. You know, he wants to play 50 or 60 plays at the receiver spot. Yep. Of course he does. That's what he's done. But how about how he's embraced his special teams role? Yep. You know, the embracing part while not getting the spotlight on you when maybe you think it should be on you because you were drafted. Lastly, Falcons. Bijan Robinson, 6 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown.
Yeah.
Penix went for 298 and 1, and we don't have time to talk about their defense. Just those two, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think Bijan's one of the best players in the league at his position. Affects the game clearly more than just as a runner. He's always had a unique skill set to catch the football in space. He's an absolute problem. So we've got to really understand how they want to use him, how they want to apply him to both what they want to do throwing the football, but then they've always done a nice job clearly as a wide zone team and how they want to attack your edges with that kind of dynamic skill set. And I think Michael Penix has clearly demonstrated he can push the football downfield. What jumped out to me was just his ability to affect the game with his athleticism.
Yep.
And find some critical plays where maybe he didn't have anybody to throw the football to, and he's finding a way to convert third downs and put the ball in the end zone by any means necessary. He was competing, trying to lead his team to a win. So really impressive individual performances by those guys for sure.
Well, speaking of really impressive as we close, we've been back at this facility for 7.5 hours, 7 hours and 45 minutes. And I would imagine you've already critically gone through last night's game for your guys.
Yep.
And you're down the road on the Falcons. You have to be, or the people who assist you and give you stuff, and then you start working off of it, quality control and stuff. I mean, you're far down the road on the Falcons, right?
We're moving, man.
We're
moving. There ain't no stopping, just like you.
That's great, man.
We're back in here working today. Want to know.
All right, and remember this time last week when you rolled your eyes at my field commentary?
Yeah.
What was the whole talk yesterday?
That's right.
But that was overblown because
there was,
there were seams, but they didn't move.
It was watching the tape though. It was a little bit more of a factor than what we thought pregame because it felt there were seams, but it felt like they had done a really good job with it. But watching it closely, there was a few slips here and there, and I thought our guys handled it pretty well for the most part. But on both sides, it showed up a little bit.
Love chatting with you, and look forward to the Falcons game. Have a good week. All right.
Yeah. Thanks, PA.
Kevin O'Connell, X's and O's on a KFAN, courtesy of 9 to noon. We'll be right back.